Well, welcome. I'm Electra. This is Liz, and we are both with the Language of Consciousness Institute. And we just wanted to talk to you today about sentient registers, sentient intelligence registers. And if you've had any contact with our the templates of the language of creation, you know that one of the things that's required when you write them is that you write life enhancing, life generating phrases. And so you go, well, what's really life generating for me? Well, the only way you're really going to know is if you ask your body. And your body's way of talking with you or communicating with you, we call your sentient registers and or sentient intelligence registers. So it can be energies running through you. It can be words popping in your head. It can even be emotions. And a lot of what people experience, some of it's similar, but some of it's very unique to you. And it's a system of communication with your body that gets more precise and over time. And it becomes part of kind of how you live your life, not just when you write the creation exercises. So it's in the communication. It's like learning any other language. You need to pay attention to it. And we have always taught this in the creation exercises. And we're going to want to talk to you today, not just about what a sentient register is and how you experience it, but why we've chosen to change actually how we teach people to use the templates of the language of creation to focus on learning this skill first. Do you have anything you want to add there?
No, no. You did such a brilliant job.
Oh, Sid, thank you, dear. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Well, let's go back to. I'll tell you, the first time I didn't know what they were talking about when they said, "Listen to your body." I was like, okay, what does that mean? And that experience of finding out that a certain feeling in my body always was the same when something was life enhancing. I certainly knew the ones that were life defeating, and I think we all have those. Like, well, I don't know if butterflies in your stomach is life defeating, but it does warn you. You go like, oh, butterflies in my stomach. Oh, I'm nervous. I had one friend who had a sensation in her stomach from when she was young, and she always took it to be negative. And it always meant that she'd eaten the wrong thing. Okay, but when she started writing the creation exercises, she said, well, I haven't eaten anything, and that feeling is there. So then she figured out that feeling had either its marker had changed, but basically it did not mean that she'd always eaten something wrong. It actually was her body trying to tell her something about the situation that she was in or what she was about to do. And what we find is we have a system, an internal system called the enteric nervous system. It's also called your gut brain. It goes from your stomach down to your anus. So all your intestines are in there, your liver, gallbladder, and that particular system is called your second brain or your gut brain. And that's because it has just about the same white and gray matter that your head brain does. It has just about all the chemicals, and it has the glial neural cell structure that is also in your head brain. And it's part of what's called a microbiome. It's kind of, think about like a jungle where all of the hormones, all of the immune system, all of these glial cells that are listening to all this information in your body exist. And they are monitoring both what's going on in your internal system as well as what's going on outside of you. So they're going to sense if there's danger coming, they're going to sense if it's fun coming. They have a sensing system that's far beyond our cognizant, conscious awareness. So what happens is that this system is constantly sending information up to your brain via your vagus nerve. Goes through your heart into your head, and then the head brain sends out some reactions, but it's only like 20% of the activity. So we know that this enteric nervous system constantly monitoring, constantly giving you information, um, and yet we don't know how to listen to it. And part of it is because our culture taught us from a very early age, no, you listen to me. Your mother knows best. The minister knows best, right? School teacher knows best. And by the time we're in the lower grades, we know that we're not supposed to listen to our bodies. We're supposed to listen to people outside of us. And they keep telling you all the way through school, we know best. Don't choose that. Do what we say. And before you know it, you don't even know that there's this tremendous fount of wisdom inside of you that is really just for you. It's on your side totally. And one of the major tenets that we teach in the language of creation is that you are unique and essential to this world. You came in here with your own talents, your own capabilities for you to grow. And usually we all sense there's a reason we're here, right? And your body knows that. All the initial wisdom that you came in with is in there. And for those of us who have been writing the creation exercises, one of the things, there's couple things that we become really clear about. One is that there's an inner wisdom that exists within. Because sometimes you're writing the creation exercises and you go, the last phrase is an embodies phrase. So the phrasing goes, craving, X, creates A. Creating A sustains and maintains B. Sustaining and maintaining B embodies Q. And we write the Q and we go like, well, what do you know about that? I didn't know that was in me, right? So we call that your inner wisdom. It's suddenly accessing not only the wisdom of the body, but the wisdom of your spirit. But we use these sentient, then we're paying attention. We're taught to pay attention to kind of what body sensations. When we say, what's the A? Well, if I crave X, what would that create in my life? And either a sensation or an emotion or a word's going to pop in your head. And you go like, oh, okay. And that's the process of writing creation exercises. It isn't, I made it up in my head to put in a word there. It's waiting for the sentient registers to notify you about what is the word or the phrase that needs to go in there. And in the beginning, I think a lot of people think that they're supposed to make it up mentally. Would you say that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that it is in your head at first. It's kind of, okay, what should this be?
You're trying to be logical about it.
Yes, really logical. And you're not paying attention to the enteric nervous system at all because it's not trained.
Well, you're not trained to listen to it. It's fine. It's been doing it. It's tried to talk to you because you've had the butterflies in your stomach, you've had the clenching stomach, you've had, different registers, probably the ones that say, no, don't do that, or that person's really not a good fit for you, or that's not safe. Some of those, it gets loud enough at us that we go like, okay, this is my gut sense. My gut sense is this might not be a good thing for me to do. Probably happens in high school a lot.
Yeah.
But some people don't listen to it because why? Because they've been taught not to. But in any case, the more you regularly write the creation exercises and always seeking what is the life enhancing, life generating phrasing, and then paying attention to these sentient registers that you start to discover, you discover the wisdom of your body and the wisdom of your spirit. Because it's your spirit talks to you through your body, through these sentient registers. And why is that important? It's important because it's the only part of you that is kind of on your unique and essential side. Because everything else that you have been taught in your entire lifetime is in here in glial neural networks, but it's somebody else's idea of what is right, what is truth, how you should be, how you should behave, how you should think, how you should problem solve, but it's not you. My dad was a nuclear physicist, and one of the things he told me, he said, for every problem that exists in the world, there are multiple answers. And the danger is when you pick one and think that's the only one. And even our scientists fall for that all the time. You know, he said a failing of most of the scientists is that they go, oh, this is the answer to this problem. And they make everybody do it that way. But that doesn't mean that it is the answer. And because each of us is a unique and essential being, and I know you may not believe that, but I'll have to say I didn't believe it either. But no, but it's true. One of the things that when I first heard this from Tantra Ma, which is she's the one who developed the language, the templates, she'd say, well, everyone's unique and essential. And I said, well, I'd buy it that I'm unique because my kids always said I was weird. So I said, I got that. But essential, a lot of times I thought we were just all cogs in a wheel. And I think the way society entrains people to behave is on the factory model, the Ford factory model. And so we were kind of entrained to be cogs in the wheel. But we don't get to use the full power of our mind and the full power of our heart and the full power of our gut if we act only like a cog in the wheel. So if you'd really like to kind of expand to know the fullness of who you are, write a lot of creation exercises. Now, the creation exercises, there's 2 observing and there's 7 craving. And they move from simple craving, like craving a red convertible, to then something, a being state that says craving being. So let's say craving being happy is a very simple one that a lot of people want. Then it goes to craving what X is for me is. And a lot of times that's about redefining for yourself what a person or word or concept is for you. And usually people pick ones that are trigger words. But let's say, like I've met people who really don't like the word teacher. And it was probably based on how they experienced being teacher. But then they could redefine it totally. So it no longer made them clench their stomach or no longer made them go away from how they could be the fullness of teaching others. Then there's craving what being, well, I could say craving what being a teacher is for me is. And then there's what we call the meta point, and then there's a one with creation, and then there's an embodiment. And so as you progress through those, you really learn to refine, define, hold in your body more all these additional life-enhancing phrases. And see, that's the key thing here. When you start this process, when we each started it, we had all these phrases that had been put in our head about what is truth, well, how to be, all that stuff. And then you start adding on all these life-enhancing, life-generating phrases. You create more glial neural networks. There becomes more choice in your life. And as you move up through the craving exercises, you go from simple craving to how do I want to embody that state? How do I want to embody happiness? How do I want to embody boldness, embody being a teacher? So anyway, the diversion is now is I want to talk to you about the observing and the observing being exercises, which we have decided are kind of the keystone because they're the ones that help you really learn how to pay attention to your sentient registers. Because if you are not paying attention to how your body communicates with you, you're missing a lot of the depth and breadth of your own unique and essential state. Would you agree with that?
Completely.
So, why is it important to you that we focus on those first?
If I don't know where I am, and this is the total opposite to how I taught this before, if I don't know where I am in the moment, how do I know what I want? So it's interesting when we observe where we are, um, or we observe the world around us, uh, then all of a sudden cravings pop up in our perception. And sometimes too, when we're observing, our perception might be off on something. So we can step back in our observing of something and kind of deepen our perception. And out of what we're seeing, it's like taking a telescope, right? We're looking out there at the horizon, and then we notice something. This longing comes up. I remember that when I first started writing the exercises, how hard it was to come up with something to crave. And instead of looking at where I was in the moment and observing it, and then feeling, because my solar plexus is really the most prominent sentient register for me. So paying attention to that and paying attention to when my gut would clench or when I would get chills all over, instead of doing that, I would just look at a list of words and pick one, to crave. I mean, it was the opposite of now what we've learned, which is really cool. After years and years of writing these exercises, now we're seeing that there are all these hidden gems in the observing exercises we've written to look at and realize, oh my gosh, I'm getting chills all over when I'm looking at the word devotion. Well, I crave devotion to something.
Or craving what devotion is. Why is the chills there?
Yeah.
That's the only way to find out what it means to you.
Mm-hmm. So that's why we're doing what we call flipping, because we're seeing what gems these observings are, and the depth of perception that we're finding we're coming up with in both observing and then observing what we're being in any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then observing what we have as a result of, what we've opened up into. So, and then realizing we want more of that. And that wanting more of that is what ends up being our craving fields, what I call craving field state, craving this field of devotion. I was just thinking today, I was working with the word deception last night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really good, it's, when I first read the word deception, my whole system kind of triggered. And then immediately I observed, well, what's in that? What do I want to be instead of deceiving someone? Well, I want to be kind of a pure light for somebody. So immediately I observed that. And because we've written so many, craving what something is for me is having that experience of taking a word like deception and shifting it and shifting the way that we're observing that word, using a craving what exercise has just been such a great tool to have. And the other thing I'm thinking of, and I know it's kind of off, but yet not off, is, and I lost it. Oh my Thank goodness it'll come back to me. Was important. Oh well, I'm gonna have to reset myself on that.
No,
yeah,
it'll
come.
pop up.
It'll pop up. Yeah.
As you age, you'll find popping up as a
Yes.
Well, one of the things you're going like, I don't get what observing beings got to do with sentient registers. You did get a sense from what's that, but let me tell you what the words are. The first thing you have to do when you say observing. So in what Liz just talked about, she said, observing, I really don't want to be the old definition of deceiving others. It's deception. That's one of its meanings. And so has me be present to. So these are first of all, the templates are alchemical formulas, and there are specific words that you have to do between your phrases. So, Liz, let's just play with this one.
Yeah.
So why don't you do a regular,
observing?
Yeah,
okay.
But do it on deception.
Okay. I like how you phrased it, though. Mm-hmm. Observing, I really don't want to be deceiving anyone or to be in the feeling of deception, which is negative
for you.
Feeling for me, yeah. Observing, I don't want to be in a place where I'm deceiving anyone, has me be present to wanting to be a pure light for others to see themselves more clearly, being present to wanting to be a pure light, and I can't get all the words, so others can see themselves more clearly, has opened me up into being that pure light. Feels rich. Opened up into being that pure light feels rich, has me have a fullness of life's expression.
So if you heard what she said earlier, she said sometimes she gets a craving from an observing. So the last phrase that she just said, the fullness of life's expression, that would be a craving.
Yeah.
So craving being the fullness of life's expression has creates what for you?
A depth of joy.
Okay, creating a depth of joy sustains and maintains
well-being in my body.
Sustaining and maintaining well-being in your body
embodies being whole and complete.
Okay. Did you see how that went? Did you watch her? You see, she actually listened within. She didn't make it up out of this mental factory she's got up here. She listened to her whole body. You saw her eyes go up. She paid attention. So what she paid attention to were the sentient registers of her body and her soul, who were talking to her about that.
Yeah, I could feel chills, some chills, like they go down my back. That's where I experience them first, and then they go out into the body. So I start feeling them into my back, and when I feel those, I know that's truth. That's like my compass, my inner compass, going true north there for me. And then initially, feeling wholeness in my body, I felt that in my solar plexus. It kind of vibrates for me, and there's this, I don't know, I can't even describe, I don't have the words to describe what happens in the solar plexus when whatever I'm feeling or whatever language lands, but
she knows
it's just kind of a clunk. Yeah.
And that's what happens for each of us. You may not have the sentient awareness registers, sentient intelligence registers that she just talked about for her, but she knows when she gets the chills in her back, when she gets the clunk in her stomach, solar plexus area, she knows what that means, that she has accessed the wisdom of her spirit through her body's communication system. So she's more Liz and who Liz came here to be versus the Liz that her mommy wanted her to be. Okay.
Yeah. And the thing that's really cool in working with people, especially in observing, is knowing how unique we each are. Because I've heard each person that I work with have a different way that their body registers. And in knowing that each person is so unique in that helps us to realize how unique we are, and also helps us to know that any response that we're taking in from the body is unique to each of us and is good. Because a lot of people say, well, is it okay to be feeling this, or and I love that we're each so unique that that then when somebody comes up with a new register too, I pay attention to that and see if, oh, maybe that might be true for me. And very often it isn't. But it's a fascinating exploration, to see where else am I registering.
And this process continues as long as you are alive. If you're paying attention and listening within, you can track much more easily what you should be doing next. What's the activities that are the most beneficial to your system, to the health of your body, or to the direction you want to go in.
I know I got what I missed.
Okay.
Affirmations.
Yeah.
I see so many people, there's journals out there now, you write what you're grateful for, or you write affirmations. Well, this practice goes so far beyond that, because it's the whole body. It's all of your systems working together. And that goes way beyond reading, I am grateful for the sun shining today. I can go and write a creation exercise about craving, bringing the solar energy into my body, and then having my body register that so much more deeply and in such an enriched way than writing a sentence on a piece of paper hoping that'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
With the creation exercises, it more than happens. There's, to me, we talk about, wow, manifestation happened really quickly, but I'm wondering if there's a word beyond manifestation, because that to me is what this practice is. It's so beyond, because bringing the sunshine today into my whole system then sets off a string of events that happen that are so beyond amazing, that's beyond manifestation. Not only did it manifest, but it was the catalyst for whatever else was going to come in.
And that other else couldn't have come in unless you invited it in.
Right.
And this is the key point here too.
Yeah.
That happens with the creation exercises. Is one of the things that Tantra started talking about recently was, if you don't invite it in, it can't come in.
Yeah.
So if you believe you have angels, or that there is a God that you're in communication with, or a goddess or a spirit to support you, they can't really come. They can be there somewhat, but unless you invite them in, they can't really work with you. So these craving and observing templates are about inviting all the etheric dimensional support we have in to help us manifest on earth what we came here to manifest. And it really appears what you crave. Now, you have to, this is one of those practices, guys, that you have to do regularly, or you're not going to gain in proficiency. It's sort of like you decide you want to learn Italian, right? But you only practice once a month, maybe every 6 months. You go like, yeah, let me learn a little bit more. What was that phrase I used? you're never going to speak Italian. We know that. Same thing.
Yeah.
And so we started teaching the we are starting in our next program, we're going to start this fall, teaching one, you to pay attention to your body, how it communicates to you in movement, how it communicates to you in stillness, and how it communicates to you in the writing of the observing and observing being exercises. So that you start building that inner sense, that going within listening that you watched Liz do for you, and just her talking herself through an observing exercise. And we're doing it because we have discovered that this is the key. People don't get caught up in looking at dictionaries or thinking it's a mental exercise. They start understanding how they're the most wonderful communication system within their own body. They don't have to make it up. Your spirit is within you. Your body is body and spirit, matter and energy. They aren't separate. And so the more that you practice this, the greater the possibility of really being in tune with who you came here to be and having that be how you be in the world. And so this is kind of our new aha. We used to teach the craving exercises first and then the observing because, well, that's the first way it was taught. And what we've discovered, one of the funny parts is I just thought about this. Every craving template must have an observing or observing being done with it. Both of them have to be written in order for it to be a complete whole. So it's like your GPS system, right? You have to say, craving X, and then after you write a craving X, you have to say observing. Observing what has occurred to me since I wrote this, observing how after I read it, this is what my experience is in my system. It's like the Taoist symbol. Unless you have both, it really can't start functioning for you in creation, you and your God. Your God is your higher spirit. I always look at my craving exercise as a specific list for my spirit to help me in what I want to go. I want to go there. I want to be this. I want to experience that. But if I just say that, and how many, the prayers you have as a little kid, I used to say, I always wanted a pony, but I lived in the middle of Chicago, so it wasn't going to happen. So the prayer as a child might be craving a pony tied to the back, a craving pony, and just say, oh, please send me my pony. But if I did that now, I would actually say craving what having my own pony is for me is. And then I would have all these phrases about what that meant. And it might not, and that's my guess, not actually be a pony I was after. It might have been in bodies being special to my mommy and daddy, or in bodies having fun, galloping down the street. I don't know, because I've never written it because I'm not like 6 or 7 anymore, and I don't want a pony anymore. So, but the idea is that if we say an affirmation or one phrase, we really haven't given our etheric support, our dimensional support systems, even our body, a whole lot of information about what we actually want. But if you write a template, a craving template, you're writing creating, sustaining, and maintaining. You're writing like 12 phrases that define what it is about, let's say, craving a red convertible. So all the etheric dimensional support systems, all the parts of your inner communication system go, okay, we got 12 phrases to look for. Right?
Yeah.
And we know what we're looking for now. We know it's not just a red convertible. We know it's having fun with her friends and, wind blowing in your face, whatever your phraseologies were. So there's a larger specificity. And then you go observing, I don't even have the money for a new car. Or observing, Mom says, everybody says you have to buy a sedan. Um, Whatever the observing, you tell them where you're at. Because to be quite honest, our mental mind has been telling us that it knows everything and it leaves the rest of the system out of the communication. But if I say, observing, I think I don't have enough money, has me be present to, well, I guess I really could cut down on the Friday night out to save money. So it gets that starting point, like in the GPS system. So the observing or observing being starts to be a more accurate statement about where I am in the world relative to that craving or just by itself. And that gives your internal wisdom, your body wisdom, your spirit awareness, your etheric support system to know, like, oh, we're starting here in order to get to there. Great. It's really helpful.
Yeah, I can compare it to a compass. So the observing. So let's say we start with observing, and before we do the craving. So that gives you north, south, east, west on your compass. And then in your observing, then you realize what you're going to be craving, and those 12 statements then give you you know northeast, northwest. So it gives you those coordinate points. The two exercises together then really give you the longitude, latitude, and that's the meta point. Those are the point. Oh, I got that point right there. When I said the wholeness in my body core, I didn't know that. I'm like, oh, wow! It got me to wholeness in my body. Boom! There's a longitude and a latitude meta point or point on my own map of being. It gives me wholeness. Oh my gosh, I would never,
You never would have thought of that when you thought of the word deception.
Yeah, it's pinpointed in my world,
yeah,
right? On my world map, my unique and essential world map, my own.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Isn't it? And you can see we like this whole thing.
Yeah.
There's another thing called observing anytime. And a lot of us use that because have you ever had like a looping thought or a looping emotion and you can't get out of it? It's the most irritating thing in the world. Well, guess what you can do? You can write an observing or observing being. Observing being irritated with X. And that's all you can think about is I'm so irritated with X. Oh God, would that person ever stop doing that? Geez, well, I'm trying to do something else and I keep thinking about that. That's looping thoughts, but you can have looping emotions. Being irritated is a looping emotion. But it pulls you out of it. So the power of being an observer is that you change perspectives. A tool that works really quickly is the observing or observing being exercises. Observing being irritated has me be present to, if I think about this again, I'm going to bang my head against the wall. Observing being present to, if I think about this once more anymore, I'm going to hit my head on the wall, has opened me up to, that would be a really bad idea. Because then I get a headache. Opened up to, that's a really bad idea because then I get a headache. Has me be, oh, I'm in a different space right now. So suddenly I am not just irritated about an X process or an X certain person. I'm suddenly outside of it. And so the observer changes the perspective of how you are in the world. And when you change perspectives, you have opportunity for more and different actions. And then you have the opportunity to get different results. So that's another reason that we're teaching them first, because a lot of us get caught up in these looping thoughts or looping emotions, and they really kind of drain us. So just doing and observing. Now, we've been only talking one recursion. Every time you do what we call a full template, it's 3 recursions. So you repeat that phrasing. Observing X has me be present to Y. Being present to Y has opened me up to Q. Opened up to Q has me have W. But there's 3 sets of those, and that's how you get those 12 phrases. You've probably been going like, I don't hear your 12 phrases, girl. So we have templates that were created according to the format of the golden mean, the Fibonacci spiral, which is like the blueprint for 95% of everything on Earth, 99%. And just take our word for that at the moment. We'll show you the science of it when you come to the class to learn it. But the thing is we all want to, well, we all crave the life that we came here to be, came here to do, came here to have. But we don't know how to do that. So we've been looking outside of ourselves for direction. And when you learn to communicate with your own body wisdom and your spirit wisdom through your sentient intelligence, suddenly you start getting direction that is yours for you about what you came here to be, do, and have. Not what your mom or your brother, your sister, your best friend, or the teacher that you idolize. It's what you came here. And that's when it feels right. Did you see what she said about, oh, I hadn't thought about that phrase, being whole. And wow, yeah, that is what I really want. That's uniquely hers. Now, that might be a phrase that works for you too, but your own sentient intelligence is going to own it differently. It's like owning your own like rightness and trueness and true northness. So that is why we're teaching this first. Now, we have a class coming up in the fall, and we're going to be teaching our participants the observing being templates, and also the templates 1 through 4, which is about craving being, craving what X is for me is, and what being Y is for me is. And then we're going to have another program in the spring, which takes up the next 3 templates. Continue to look at our website. That's the www.loc-institute.com to see the changes that are coming. We're going to continue to talk every Monday at 9 a.m. You're going to see Liz or me or Victoria and Beryl. And we're going to be talking about this course and talking about the different exercises and their power in our lives and why we want to give you this gift. No, the class isn't free, but it is a gift because you're going to start to become more aware of you, that wonderful being that is you. That sometimes we don't believe that. You might still be in my old thing about being a cog in a wheel, or, I'll never get to be. Or what is this thing about me coming here to be something special? And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have been born if you didn't have a gift to give.
Yeah, we're all here at this time right now for a very special purpose. And us finding our own purpose first then helps us realize that it's really important that we're here at this time.
Right. And it brings me to the last point. You probably say, well, can I just do this on my own? I'm a very busy person. And it misses a key element. One of the things that we have become aware of is that everything must be done in a we community and with others. I know in the United States, it's popular to think that you can pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. The United States also wouldn't have existed if they hadn't done things in community. But the mythology is, and a lot of people think I can just do it by myself. The truth is, there is not enough holding of you if you try and do it by yourself, because there's going to be rough moments that we all go through when we kind of jump to another level of awareness, jump to another level of integration of our body and spirit. That's kind of discombobulating. And sometimes we get thrown like, why don't I had this knowing before, but I don't have it, or just it's discombobulating. If you're within a field of people that have a common interest in this kind of work, in becoming more of who they came here to be, the field itself supports you at times of transition, which are difficult, and you support others. It's like being woven into this wonderful matrix of support. And that's why we're urging you, you can be in our field of support, which we call the Language of Consciousness Institute. We also weave you into another field of support called the field of Tantra. You may also say, no, I'm really into this, I'm really into that. But, and two things. One, check out the life enhancing registers of being in that field. Because if they tell you to do things that are not your own truth, then it's not a field for you. Okay? But there are a lot of fields of support. But it's really important to be doing, one, your own work, and two, with others, what we call being with others in the field. And we're going to offer you that through the Language of Consciousness Institute and the field of Tantra. And you will find, and you'll probably become aware of other groups of people that hold that same truthness. And this is a group I am what we call resonant with, that would support you. But it's this mutual, it's like Buckminster's dome, where all the spokes interact and create the most stable structure known on Earth. And that's what these fields do when people are everybody's working individually, but they're also working as a we. I call a we, W-E. And so I urge you to pay attention to both of those concepts when you're checking out who you want to study with, who you want to grow with, and how you want to learn how to talk better with your own body and your own spirit.
There is something I want to put in here, is that there are components where you'll have the time to do the studying on your own. So it's not like you're coming to the class every time and, oh my gosh, I have to, I'll have to be answering questions, like having a teacher up there teaching you. It's different than that. So there are components where you're going to be doing self-teaching. You're going to be doing your reading and learning, and you'll have time to integrate all that we're providing for you, and then coming and working with us and with a small group as well to integrate and to have a conversation. So it's not like you're on point where you're going to have to, oh my gosh, I have to know this because I have to answer these questions. It's not like that at all, which I love, because I don't do well with a teacher standing up in front of me demanding that I answer questions.
We're not using that model.
No.
She was just talking about how the structure of the class is.
Yeah.
You're going to have videos and articles and between each class to do on your own time. We're also going to be asking you to write your own creation exercises. So what happens in class will be movement, internal reflection exercises, and then reflecting as a group with each other about what you experienced and what it's meaning to you, And we're hoping that we're looking forward to it, because we like talking together, really. Oh, not obvious, right? And we understand that we are always beginner mode. So know that whether you have been on your spiritual search for 50 years, or whether you're just starting and poking your toe off of the edge, you will be in the right place for you, because we all come with what we call a beginner mind. What is new? What am I learning? Oh, just like you saw her go earlier. Oh, this is a new sensation.
Yeah.
I wonder what that means to me. That's beginner mind. So know that you come with beginner mind. You can do a lot of the learning on your own, and then you get to be with others in a group in discussion and reflection and movement and practice. So thank you very much. We'll see you. Liz is heading up the call next week on Monday, and we'll see you then. And please comment and let us know your thoughts, and we'll talk more about what you're interested in us talking about. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.